This is the second Crime Prevention and Communities Conference that the AIC has developed. It's bigger than the first conference we held in Sydney in 2012 in terms of attendance and also program scope. And dare I say, I expect it will be even more thought-provoking. Of course, that could be a pro-Geelong, pro-Victorian bias. I'm a Geelong boy at heart, but I actually think it's true as well. This program, I think, is pretty excellent, and I think we should hopefully get a lot out of it in the next day or so. The Australian Institute of Criminology has always championed crime prevention as a key part of a policy toolkit available to our governments, Commonwealth, state and local governments, and the criminal justice sector in general. Our research in crime prevention, our Crime Prevention Assist service, which you'll hear more about over the nature of the conference, over the course of the conference, and managing the Australian Crime and Violence Prevention Awards as we do, proves to us there's a huge amount of work being done in local communities to prevent crime, and that this work is delivering some very promising outcomes in terms of reduced crime and improved community safety. In fact, the conference includes presentations from a number of the ACVPA award winners, and I'm hoping you'll get along to those and hear some of their stories of good quality local crime prevention work over the next 2 days. So what's the national picture when it comes to crime? Well, in recent years, Australia has experienced continuing declines in many categories of crime. The rate of robbery has been declining since 2001. The rate of sexual assault is back down to levels not seen for 15 years. It's still an issue, but it's been decreasing. Although it remains a difficult problem to manage. And the overall trend in homicides is one of general decline. In fact, it's at the lowest rate it's been for well over 20 years now, at 1.2 homicides per 100,000 people. Again, these aren't issues, that doesn't mean that because our stats are falling, there aren't issues to deal with in the criminal justice community. There isn't crime to deal with. This isn't a problem still for our communities, but it does mean we're going on the right track in some ways. In terms of property crime, the statistics are also heartening. Overall levels of burglary, motor vehicle theft and other theft are much lower than they were 10 years ago. But the news isn't all good. We still have crime as an issue to deal with as a community, as a society. And reducing the unacceptable levels of violence against women and children, as the Minister has identified, remains a national priority because it's been quite an intractable crime to really sort of make significant inroads in. This has been affected, though, I guess, by also the greater community awareness of these problems and the greater desire or greater ability of people to actually report these crimes. So we know more about them than we used to. They're more visible, but we still have issues to deal with. We also know Indigenous people are still significantly overrepresented as both victims and offenders. The level of Indigenous overrepresentation in our prisons has increased rather than decreased over the last 20 years, despite many attempts to reduce this pattern. We also know that alcohol is a contributing factor in the majority of physical assaults, and there are significant concerns about the safety of people visiting our major entertainment precincts, particularly young people. And we are faced with new threats as criminals make the most of new opportunities for crime. An AIC report recently launched by the Commonwealth Attorney-General showed that identity crime affects a relatively high proportion of Australians, and those victims report substantial financial and other impacts. Victoria Police have also recently noted an increase in credit card fraud using tap-and-go credit cards, which have only been introduced recently. And this exemplifies or typifies the fight against crime. As technology and other measures change to successfully prevent crime, criminals find ways to overcome these barriers and/or they find new, easier targets to attack, leading to the need for further investments to respond to the changing nature of criminal behaviour. We also know that national trends don't necessarily reflect the experience of every community. Some communities have experienced significant declines in crime, others have experienced an increase. Importantly, despite overall declines in many types of crimes, perceptions of safety typically remain relatively unchanged, and those perceptions are often much more negative than the actual risk of experiencing crime. So making people feel safer is a significant challenge, particularly when certain rare but tragic high-profile incidents can have a strong detrimental impact on people's perceptions of crime and safety. So what do we know about, what we do know is that crime prevention works. We now have good evidence to show that certain strategies are very effective in reducing crime, but we need to also recognise that much of what we currently know about preventing crime takes place outside of the law enforcement sphere. We know that improving the health and well-being of children in the early years, family-based early intervention and some school-based prevention programs are all well supported by evidence as having subsequent and substantial benefits in reducing criminal behaviour. The seminal Pathways to Prevention report developed by Professor Ross Hommel, who's actually here with us today in one of the front tables, and his colleagues in 1999 is still, I think, still resonates as a key guide to considering the factors influencing the development of criminal behaviour. But when we look to secondary and tertiary crime prevention, targeting those more likely to commit crimes or those actually committing crimes, we know that tactics and techniques such as problem-oriented policing, hotspots policing, enhanced street lighting and other target hardening can have very positive crime reduction impacts. One policing approach for which there is considerable evidence from Australia and overseas of effectiveness in terms of both reducing crime and fear of crime is problem-oriented policing. Problem-oriented policing, or POP, involves the application of the SARA model: scanning, analysis, response and assessment. The emphasis is on developing a detailed understanding of a problem and then developing and implementing and evaluating proactive rather than reactive responses. Recognising that effective crime prevention will often require a range of sectors to be involved beyond police, POP approaches are often founded on effective interagency partnerships that involve working with other government agencies, the community and the private sector to target the causes of the problem. Overall, it has been demonstrated that proactive, focused, place-based interventions like problem-oriented policing are more likely to reduce crime and disorder than strategies concentrating on individuals or those that are reactive and or general in nature. And the approach has been used to effectively address a wide range of problems such as burglary, probation and parolee recidivism, drug markets, vandalism and park drinking, and also some forms of violence. When crime prevention does work, it reduces the long-term costs associated with the criminal justice system and can achieve a significant return on investment in terms of savings in justice, welfare, healthcare, and the protection of social and human capital. And there are some excellent examples being presented at this conference, what can be achieved when you implement strategies supported by evidence. There are papers on developmental prevention which highlight the benefits of intervening early to prevent young people becoming involved in crime. We're also going to hear about the impact of initiatives that have reduced the level of alcohol-related violence and some of the relatively new and innovative work that is being done to prevent violence against women before it occurs. Also evident from many of the papers at the conference, which I think is quite impressive, is a level of sophistication in the way that communities are going about the process of preventing crime. Detailed problem analysis, strong community engagement, effectively working in partnerships, and a focus on effective implementation of programs. These are common themes, I think, in the program for the next couple of days. The diversity of people and organisations working to prevent crime is also evident in our list of speakers and delegates. We have people from local government, state government, non-government organisations, police and academia, all working towards a common goal. Like the Minister, I would like to acknowledge the hard work and good cross-sectoral work I think that's gone into making this conference happen, recognising the staff of the Community and Crime Prevention Unit of the Department of Justice. Also Victoria Police, who played an integral role with the organising committee, along with the usual sterling work of my own staff, together with the advice and support and expertise brought to the table by the Municipal Association of Victoria and local government professionals, LG Pro, all of whom brought great advice and expertise to the conference structure and program. So all that remains to be said is I hope you enjoy the next 2 days and you find much that assists you in the formal presentations. But I also hope you get a chance to chat with your fellow delegates after sessions, in the breaks, at the reception tonight, to discuss one another's work, to share ideas and solution on what works, because this is often just as important as the formal sessions, this chance to get together and share ideas. But now it's time to get things started, and it's my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, Karen McCluskey.